Hi, this is our presentation for laddering for our illicit methodologies. Um, this is presented by John Sarine, Lucas Freitas, and Ryan Hafen. We will be going over our laddering explained, our upsides and downsides, our recommendations, our data, and finishing up with the conclusion. Laddering is a partially planned method of elicitation. Interviewers are asked a series of why questions, all having to do with the participant's previous answer. By doing this, interviewers can gather a hierarchy of questions and answers that display a map of user preferences, all because of the way the questions are asked. The questions are structured in a way that the answers to the previous questions will inform the content of the current question. The questions cannot be fully prepared because it is impossible to know how the interviewee will respond. The resultant map of questions and answers is a hierarchy of the user's preferred features of the product and their place in a hierarchy of features. To better understand this technique, Michael Hawley used this analogy. To envision a laddering interview, think of a traditional image of a psychologist interviewing a patient, attempting to uncover the root cause of some behavior or problem. The patient may not be able to make connections between underlying issues and their manifestations, but through skilled interviewing, the psychologist can dig deeper and deeper to unearth insights that have relevance. A laddering interview for user experience research is similar.
A loose description of how this would work in a requirements elicitation interview would be to ask a user what their favorite feature of a product is, then ask why that feature is beneficial, and then ask what that benefit does for them personally. The same line of questions would be asked for the second most favorite feature of a product, and so forth. The result of all the questions is a tree denoting the most important features of a product and the least important arranged in order. These results not only inform requirements, but also can play a role in marketing. Some example questions are, why is this important to you? What does it mean to you? And what is the meaning of this? What does the meaning of this product having this attribute? In reference to a specific product, a CD player, for example, it would look like what we have here. You can see how the questions 2, 3, and 4 are all follow-up questions to the first question, what feature do you like best? Each subsequent question finds deeper information about the user's preferences and the user's reason for preferring that feature. Keep in mind that the purpose is to map out the consumer's thoughts about a product or application without biasing their answers with the very structure of your interview. Eric Holtzclaw says, our best interviews are those in which the participant says at the end, I have no idea what you were asking me about, but I hope I was helpful.
All right, so to have a better idea of and a practical idea of what laddering is all about, we come up with these 3 diagrams, A, B, and C. And since laddering is a technique that allows redrawing the activity network to subtasks, we can understand better how laddering works. So let us suppose we have an activity A, and this activity A is divided into 2 subtasks, A1 and A2, with the duration of each subtask being 1 week. So the total duration for the completion of the activity A is 2 weeks. So the same goes for activity B in the next diagram. So, but there we have activities B1 and B2, each taking 2 weeks for completion. So that would sum up in 4 weeks for the total completion of activity B. Using laddering, we can come up with the third diagram, which is the diagram C. That diagram implies that the activity B1 to be completed, it has to have activity A1 completed first. And to have activity B2, it has to have activities B1 and A1 completed first. So with these changes, the earliest completion time of the project is faster, and that's one of the greatest advantages we can see in laddering. So in the next slide, we can see some of the pros and cons of using laddering. So it provides a better understanding of the prioritized needs of the stakeholders, and arranges requirements in a better format that it's easy to understand. The downside of it is that each activity is dependent on each other, so it could result in delays of the entire project as a whole because everything is connected, and it can be long and a tiring technique, and also can be tedious for participants.
Our recommendations for the laddering technique is the best time to use it is for small projects with medium to high complexity. Laddering is most effective when used to analyze a specific population with a small representative sample. When not to use it is when you're building a new system, when you have large amount of requirements, when the product experts are not available for the domain, and when there is a short timeline.
Now we're going to talk about the data that we collected. We interviewed 3 participants, and we did this by asking them what their 3 main features that they would expect to see in a pantry manager application are. Each of our participants gave definitely varied answers. So if we had planned for this and asked them about specific features, we would never have known what the users preferred. And you can see these answers informed how the rest of our questions would go. We asked why is feature, in this case, why is a search bar a good feature? And we recorded the answer here, corresponding to the corresponding number of where we recorded that feature in the first question. So their answer to a search bar, why is a search bar a good feature? So you can search for things faster. And this is just the way that we recorded the data. And it could have been recorded in a more kind of hierarchical tree fashion, how we talked about in the presentation. But this works and kind of lays it out in a nice table. Here you have the same thing. How do you feel about shopping list, UPC scanner, and the answers to those questions corresponding?
So that is it for the presentation. We can conclude that laddering is a very efficient technique, and we thank you for watching this presentation and hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.